Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. March the 30th is observed annually as World Bipolar Day. The theme for this year is Bipolar Strong. The aim is to encourage people to share their experiences and highlight the resilience, unity, and strength of people with bipolar disorder. It also aims to tackle the stigma surrounding bipolar disorder and increase empathy and support for people with the disorder. Bipolar disorder is a mental health condition that can lead to extremes of mood. It is characterized by elation, excitement, increased energy, reduced need for sleep, and in some cases, psychotic symptoms. At other times, patients could experience low mood, hopelessness, emptiness, lack of energy and motivation, and difficulty with concentration. Treatment involves the use of medication and taking therapy to manage symptoms and support well-being. And I'll be joined for a quick chat on the challenges of bipolar disorder, managing the condition, and prospects for medical breakthroughs by a consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Olayinka Jibunor. Good to have you on This Day Live, Dr. Jibunor, and thank you very much for joining us. Well, today is World Bipolar Day. Now, tell us what it is all about. Don't mind my introduction, that's just a layman's introduction. Tell us what it means to be bipolar and also the seroprevalence in Nigeria.
So bipolar is a word that is often loosely thrown around. People get up and say, oh, feeling bipolar today, or this person is bipolar, as something they say loosely, but it is a severe mental health issue, and it's often seen in less than 1% of the population. So there's a prevalence of about 1% in the Nigerian population. It is a severe disorder because for a person to actually be bipolar, they would have had an episode or more than one episode where they would have had to be dragged or sectioned, taken to a hospital, a psychiatric hospital without their consent. So it is that serious. And in bipolar illness, people swing across poles. So we say everyone has mood swings. We all have mood swings. On certain days we feel low, on certain days we feel high, which is normal, you know. We know women that around their periods, they start to get moody and they're either low or they feel a bit high, you know. You could come across that woman where she's on her period and on those days she's just low, doesn't want to talk much. On other days she's so happy and energetic and cooking a meal for the whole house and all that. Mood swings are a part of life. But when we now talk about bipolar illness, it is extreme variations in mood. So at one end we have mania, which is excessive excitement or irritability. And when we talk about this is not the regular irritability you see in someone that is moody in the office. It's extreme, it's easily progresses to aggression. You know, so there's that anger, irritability over every little thing, which can easily escalate to aggression, destruction, you know. And why I said a person with bipolar would have been taken to a hospital with that irritability, there are outbursts in public. So there are misbehaviors in the bank, in the church, in the house, you know, which could lead to destruction or aggression. And in those kind of situations, you find that the public or the family would have to intervene because of the level of destruction that comes in play. And then we have excessively high energy levels. I've personally seen a bipolar patient that pulled out a gate. In the hospital, we had like gates protecting the wards. And in that excessive energy state, the patient was able to pull out the gates that was padlocked, protecting the entire ward. So that's the kind of energy we're talking about. We talk about the decreased need for sleep, which you had highlighted earlier on. People with bipolar disorder will go for weeks without sleeping and not feel a need for sleep. So they would not sleep all night. They would get up and go to work the next day like nothing happened, you know, and they will carry on for weeks in that state. So that's the manic phase. Okay. You asked me a question. Now let's go to the other pole, which is the depressed pole. Okay. So people can be excessively high or excessively low. And in bouts of depression, you find low energy levels, extremely low energy levels, unhappiness, and in extreme cases, suicidal ideations or suicidal attempts. So you find people swing from this poles. But what we know is that onset of bipolar disorder is usually in early teenage years and early 20s. So a lot of times, if a person is bipolar, they would have had their first episode in their early teens or early 20s and most likely have been taken to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. So it's not just a disorder that just pops up out of the blue in the 40s or in the 50s. It must have occurred in early teens or early 20s.
Let's talk about stigma.
Okay.
People who behave like this, today they are happy, next tomorrow they are depressed, the other day they are aggressive. There's a stigma all over the world. People think that they are unusual. So how can society, family, community help such persons?
So, we highlighted the fact that it's an extreme variation. That's what makes it scary or unusual, because of the extreme change. So you see that anger or irritability being very extreme, and you see the lowness being very extreme. And we say that people discriminate or stigmatize what they do not understand. So an individual that has gone undiagnosed or untreated for prolonged periods of time, people around you won't be able to understand why the person is behaving the way they're behaving, compared to a person that's actually been diagnosed and treated. So when in cases where the person adheres to treatment, we see that the mood normalizes and the person is happy and still happy and sad, but within a controllable range. Yes, a controllable range. It's not extreme. So it's undiagnosed, untreated cases that vary across that you see in large variations, and you see the people around them are wary, they walk on eggshells around them, they're afraid to say certain things around them or do certain things because they cannot predict their response to such things. So that's
is there a cure for bipolar disorder?
We manage bipolar disorder. So when we say we manage, it now depends on the causative factor. In certain individuals that abuse drugs, we can also see a situation that mimics bipolar disorder. So when there's an overstimulation of use of stimulant drugs, there's some drugs we call stimulants, drugs of abuse, you can see individuals like that manifest situations that look like bipolar disorder.
Take Colorado.
Colorado is not a stimulant. Stimulants are drugs like cocaine, methamphetamines.
So what is
even
Colorado?
Coffee is even a legal stimulant. Okay. So I didn't realize you called me here to talk about drugs. Maybe you should call me for another episode where we'll talk about hard drugs on a larger. But today you asked me to talk about bipolar disorder, so I'm going to stick to the topic of discussion. Okay. So we can see a situation that mimics bipolar in individuals that abuse stimulant type drugs. So when they become overstimulated, you can see wide range of excessive anger, aggression, and stuff like that. So now you asked me for the treatment. I said it depends on what the causative factor is. If it is a hard drug, then you know that you target the drug of abuse. If you're able to stop the drug of abuse, then you can address that. However, if it is more genetic, where the individual has had their first episode from their teenage years, early 20s, and then they're having more frequent episodes, then we need to put them on what we call mood stabilizers, which are medications that are very effective, and they help the individual just have a balanced mood. So it doesn't numb the individual. You can still have your anger and your sadness, but it's controlled within a range.
Okay, what should be the responsibility of persons, family, community, towards persons who have these extreme mood swings?
So that's why we have awareness days like this, to create more awareness. Today, malaria is so easily detected and easily treated because we're so aware of malaria symptoms. You can wake up and say, oh, this is definitely malaria because of the awareness that we have. That's why we talk about topics like this. We want families to be aware. If you have that family member that seems to have extremes of mood, especially even with the sleep issues, you find the person goes for weeks without sleeping, hopping from one nightclub to the other, not even able to sleep, and still getting up and going to work the next day. It's not something you should ignore, because in time that behavior will escalate and become aggressive and destructive. So it's important for family members to, one, prioritize sleep for themselves and for their family members. Once you see a variation in sleep pattern, do not ignore it. Prioritize it, make it a topic of discussion. And if it seems that the lack of sleep is accompanied by other behavioral issues, then seek for help. That's what we do as psychologists and psychiatrists. We offer such help. So you seek for help if you're not sure. It seems there are extremes of mood. I'm not sure what I'm saying here. Ask for help, and then we'll be able to put it in check.
Dr. Jibunor, look, there are some people in history who suffered from bipolar disorder. Mariah Carey, Isaac Newton, Darwin, who came up with the theory of evolution, Beethoven, Van Gogh, whose birthday is even today, even Winston Churchill, one of the best prime ministers that United Kingdom ever had, Van Damme, a distinguished actor, all these people, Ernest Hemingway, Nobel Prize winner, and all of that. Now, so does it mean that there's another angle to this disorder? Because some people, they have bipolar disorder and they will just go right to the top of the pyramid, even with that disorder.
Okay, just a quick one. Van Gogh was that.
Van Gogh, yes.
He wasn't bipolar, he had schizophrenia actually. Because there was actually an incident where he cut off his ear and chewed his ear. Okay. That is more like a psychotic illness. Now, there's a theory that says that there's a thin line between genius and mental illness. We find a lot of people that have done extremely amazing things in this life actually have lived on the edge, on the borderline of a mental illness. That's how life has been. The truly amazing and fantastic people that have made a difference in the world. So we find that the ordinary people seem to be in the majority, and the extremely gifted and genius type are a few and the minority. There's some school of thought in mental health that says, is it because the majority are normal and are not as gifted and inspired as the little few? So they judge the few inspired and gifted ones and call them crazy for because imagine these people we've called have done. They brought up fantastic ideas and changed lives. Yes, so they brought up new stuff that had never been heard of or seen in their time and would have been seen as crazy, just like how Noah might have been seen as crazy when he said everybody should come into the ark at some point. So they brought up new ideas that would have been seen as by the normal and ordinary people as crazy. But those ideas were what changed life over time and as we see it today. So that really, when it comes to mental health, there are different schools of thoughts. Some people say the bipolar thing is just a tag that individuals just put on extremely gifted people just to tag them because they don't really understand them. And there's a school of thought like that. However, for me as a psychiatrist, I try not to judge people. When my clients come to me, I take them on a case-by-case basis. The aim is not to label people or tag them as one thing or the other. It's in how you have come to me with your gifts and all. How do we make you a better person? So if you come gifted, but you have extremes of mood, how do we keep that mood in check so that your gifts still abound and you're still able to use them for the greater good? So that's my own approach to mental health.
Okay, doctor, what will you say to the Nigerian community on this issue, on the occasion of 2025 World Bipolar Day? Particularly people who think anybody whose brilliance is almost at genius level is unusual. It's something wrong with such a person.
Yeah, it's something. So I want us to it's important that we do not trivialize we're becoming more mentally aware. Thanks to the Gen Zs and the younger generation, this awareness is important. We all need to understand. When we hear about stuff like this, let's do some more reading. Let's understand it. And in understanding, it is not to label people. Oh, you find people that when they read up on a new issue, a new topic, they go into the office and they try to point fingers. This person must be bipolar. That's not possible. A layman cannot make such a diagnosis. A diagnosis cannot be made by a trained professional. So it's very important that we empower ourselves with the knowledge that we need to identify, and we do not try to label other people based on the little knowledge that we have. Instead, you can refer them to the right professionals that can then assess and see what type of mood swings or what kind of mood disorder the individual is dealing with and then manage appropriately. When we do not understand, instead of stigmatizing or discriminating, it's important that we love people and learn to understand what their experience is and what they're going through. Because today it might be someone on the outside, tomorrow it might be someone on the inside who you genuinely care about. So that's my part in it.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Jibunor, for giving us this enlightenment on the occasion of the World Bipolar Day 2025. Thank you very much indeed.